France, 1590, night. 5 men are furiously ripping apart the clothes and the saddle of a dead courier. They know he was carrying the Sancy, a diamond worth an entire kingdom. Nothing. They slice open the boots, turn the pockets inside out, tear the lining from the cloak, even split the heels apart with a knife. Still nothing. The leader kicks the body in rage. One of the bandits grabs the reins and drags the dead horse closer. Maybe he hid it in the saddle? They rip open the leather, shake out the straw padding. Nothing. Another bandit crouches by the body, checking under the tongue, behind the ears, between the fingers. It's not here. The stone is gone. They stand in the darkness, breathing heavily, staring at the corpse. Somewhere in this forest, or perhaps already miles away, a 55-carat diamond has vanished. Where? Paris, present day, the Louvre. My name is Jean-Laurent Moret. I am the curator of the Royal Jewels Department. Every day, thousands of people walk through these halls. Most of them hurry toward the Mona Lisa. Some stop here, in the Apollo Gallery, in front of the display case, where the Sancy lies. It doesn't look like modern diamonds. There is no cold, sharp brilliance. Its light is soft, warm, almost alive. 55 carats of pale yellow radiance. Its cut is called a double rose. It has no top and no bottom. 132 facets catch the light from every angle. In the 16th century, when these halls were lit only by candles, this stone didn't simply shine. It filled the space. It felt as if a person were holding a small sun in their hands. Today, the Sancy is valued at tens of millions of dollars. But that is not why it matters to me. I work with inventory books and reports that almost no one ever reads to the end. In the documents from 1590, everything looks clean and orderly. Quote, June 12, 1590, Courier attacked on the Lyon Road, body recovered, diamond returned to Baron de Sancy by order of autopsy. End quote. One line, as if it were nothing more than a routine administrative matter. But when you spend years with these stones, you learn to read between the lines. Why would a baron, a diplomat, the king's spy, personally ride into a forest 2 days after an attack? Why would he order an autopsy in the middle of the woods, by torchlight, against all customs of the church? And most importantly, where was the diamond hidden that professional bandits could not find it? The answer is not in the official reports. It took me 3 years to find it, in a private letter from Nicolas de Sancy to his brother, stored in a separate archive. What I read there changed the way I look at this stone, and at the price of loyalty. Before we return to the mystery of that night in the forest, it is important to understand why people were willing to die for this stone, generation after generation. The journey of the Sancy began in the legendary Golconda mines in India, a place where, according to old tales, diamonds were considered the tears of the gods. But this stone brought its owners either immense power or destruction, and most often, one followed the other. Its first owner in Europe was Charles the Bold, Duke of Burgundy. One of the richest and most ambitious rulers of his time, he sincerely believed in the magical power of the diamond. Charles ordered the Sancy to be set into his battle helmet, convinced that its light would blind his enemies and make him invincible. That did not happen. In 1477, at the Battle of Nancy, fortune turned away from the Duke. Charles died in a muddy swamp. His body was so badly mutilated by wolves and looters that his companions were able to identify him only by old battle scars. And the diamond? This is where one of the strangest chapters of its history begins. A simple Swiss soldier found the Duke's helmet in the mud. He lifted the stone, turned it in his hands, and decided it was nothing more than a piece of glass. For 10 years, one of the most valuable diamonds in the world served as a fire striker. The soldier struck it against steel to spark flames and light campfires in cold military camps. Eventually, he sold the stone to a priest for 1 gold franc, just to buy a bottle of cheap wine. If the soldier had known that he was holding the price of an entire city in his hands, he likely would not have believed it. Later, the Sancy belonged to the kings of Portugal, and eventually found its way to Nicolas de Sancy, a French diplomat and an experienced political operator. When Baron de Sancy entered a torchlit throne room, the stone on his chest did more than glitter. Because of its unique cut, it created a halo of light around his figure. It looked as though the man carried a small sun with him. It was Nicolas de Sancy who lent this stone to King Henry IV so that he could hire Swiss mercenaries. And it was at that moment that the Sancy set out on the most dangerous journey of its entire existence. What is remarkable is that, centuries after the events in France, the Sancy left its mark far beyond Europe. In 1828, it appeared in the Russian Empire. It was purchased by Pavel Demidov, an industrialist from the Urals, whose fortune allowed him to acquire jewels that once belonged only to kings. Demidov bought the Sancy for an astonishing £80,000 sterling, not as an investment, not as a political statement, as a wedding gift, for his wife, Aurora Stjernvall. Aurora was a woman of rare beauty, but she was called fatal. The men who loved her died. Her first fiancé passed away just days before the wedding. The second followed soon after. Pavel Demidov was no exception. He lived only a few years after placing the Sancy in her hands. In St. Petersburg, Aurora wore the diamond at balls in the Winter Palace. Picture the scene. The Russian Empire at the height of its splendor. Golden halls, thousands of candles, and on the chest of a woman followed by a trail of loss, a stone that had already seen blood in a French forest. After the revolution, the Sancy vanished once again. It traveled, passed quietly from hand to hand. It appeared in India, where it was seen in the necklace of the Maharaja of Patiala. Later, it surfaced in America, in the possession of the Astor family. Each owner added a new episode to its history, but none of them ever possessed this stone the way one nameless servant did, back in 1590. To understand what happened in that forest, you must first understand what was at stake. France, 1590. The country was torn apart by religious wars. King Henry IV sat on a throne that trembled under the blows of the Catholic League. The treasury was empty. The soldiers had nothing to be paid with, and they were ready to desert. This yellowish diamond, weighing 55 carats, was the final card. It was meant to serve as collateral for a massive loan from Swiss bankers in Lyon. Without this stone, there would be no army. Without an army, there would be no king. And without a king, France would simply cease to exist. On the shoulders of one courier rested the weight of an entire nation. Nicolas de Sancy chose his most trusted servant for this mission. A man who had been with him for 20 years, through battles, intrigues, secret meetings at night. The Baron knew, if this man gave his word, he would keep it, or die trying. Their final conversation took place in a quiet office before the journey. The servant made no vows. He did not ask for rewards. He did not request that his body be recovered if something went wrong. He simply nodded, took the diamond, and said, "You will have your army, monsieur." 3 days later, the Baron received word. The courier had been attacked on the Lyon road, killed. The diamond was gone. 2 long days had passed since the attack. Nicolas de Sancy rode into that muddy forest with a small escort and one very confused military surgeon. The darkness felt thick and sticky, like tar. The air was saturated with the smell of damp earth and death. The guards who accompanied him nervously tightened their grips on their sword hilts, peering into the undergrowth. The surgeon, summoned by special order, could not understand why he had been dragged from a warm hospital into the forest for a corpse that had been lying here for 2 days. The body lay before them. The guards who had discovered it days earlier stood nearby, grim-faced. "Monsieur Baron," one of them said, "we found him like this. The bandits tore everything apart. Look, the boots are split open, the clothes shredded, even the saddle cut to pieces. They were professionals. They knew what they were looking for." De Sancy stepped closer. His expensive boots sank into the cold, viscous mud. He looked at the face of his servant, a man who had gone through fire and water with him for 20 years. "Where is his horse?" the Baron asked. "Dead, monsieur. 20 paces that way. The bandits gutted it too. Checked the saddle padding, even the stomach. They were thorough." De Sancy nodded slowly. He walked around the body, crouched down, studied the torn clothing, the empty pockets. The guards exchanged confused glances. What was their master looking for? The bandits had already searched everything. De Sancy stood up. He walked to the nearby trees, examined the ground, the roots, the underbrush. Nothing. He returned to the body and stood there for a long moment, silent. One of the guards finally spoke. "Monsieur Baron, forgive me, but the stone is gone. Your man either lost it in fear, or they tortured him until he revealed where he hid it. There's nothing left to find here." De Sancy didn't answer. He was staring at something, at the servant's face. Despite the violence of death, despite 2 days in the forest cold, there was something strange about that face. Not quite a smile, but a calmness, almost a look of triumph. The Baron remembered their final conversation, that quiet nod, those words, "You will have your army, monsieur." This man had never failed him, not once in 20 years. De Sancy turned to the surgeon. "Come here." The doctor stepped forward hesitantly, clutching his medical bag. "Monsieur Baron, I don't understand why. I need you to examine this body," De Sancy said quietly. "But he's been dead for 2 days. There's nothing to examine. And to perform an autopsy here, in the open, without the church's blessing." "I know my man," De Sancy interrupted. His voice was calm, steel calm. "He did not fail me. The diamond is here." "Here?" The surgeon looked around at the torn clothes, the empty pockets. "But monsieur, the bandits?" "They searched where thieves search," De Sancy said. He looked down at the body again, at that strange, peaceful expression. He hid it where only a loyal man would think to look. The Baron's gaze moved to the servant's torso, and in that moment, he understood. He understood what his servant had done. The ultimate hiding place, the one place no bandit would dare to check, the one place that would remain untouched, even in death. De Sancy's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Take out your instruments." "Monsieur Baron, I cannot." "Cut him open." The guards gasped. The surgeon's face went pale. "This is desecration. The church will, in this body," De Sancy said, his eyes never leaving the servant's abdomen, "lies the future of France." He looked at the surgeon. "You will do as I command." Now, under the trembling light of torches, the surgeon makes the first incision. The forest is utterly silent. The guards stand frozen, their faces pale in the flickering light. This is wrong. This is a violation of everything holy. But the Baron stands unmoved, watching. The surgeon's hands shake as he works. And then, clink, a metallic sound. The surgeon's steel blade strikes something so hard that a notch appears on the knife. Everyone leans forward. With trembling hands, the doctor reaches into the wound. His fingers close around something small, hard, cold. He brings it into the torchlight. The guards gasp. On the surgeon's palm, covered in blood, it catches the firelight and erupts into thousands of sparks. The Sancy. For a long moment, no one speaks. They stare at the stone, at what it means. This was not a smooth pebble that could easily slide down a throat. Because of its unique double rose cut, the stone was bulky and jagged. 132 sharp facets turned it into a tiny circular saw. To swallow it was an act of unimaginable courage. It was like willingly swallowing a burning shard of metal. But the servant had done it. Before the attack, perhaps sensing danger on the road, he had made his choice. He knew the bandits would search everything on the outside. They would cut open the boots, rip the clothes apart, kill the horse and gut it, check every pocket, every seam, every fold of leather. But they would never, never think to look inside. So he swallowed it. Every step this man took through the forest after that was agony. With every movement of the horse, the stone tore at his esophagus and stomach from the inside. The pain must have been unbearable. Any other man would have lost consciousness. But this one rode on, teeth clenched, until a bandit's bullet stopped his heart. He turned his own body into the final safe. And when death came, he met it, knowing he had kept his word. "You will have your army, monsieur." Nicolas de Sancy took the stone from the surgeon's hand. He walked to a nearby stream and washed the blood away. The diamond shone again, as if nothing had happened, indifferent to the terrible sacrifice made by its guardian. The baron stood there for a long time, holding the stone. Then he wrapped it carefully in cloth and placed it inside his coat. He turned to his guards. "Give this man a proper burial," he said quietly. "With all honors. Mark the grave." "Yes, Monsieur Baron." De Sancy mounted his horse. As he rode away, one of the guards whispered to another, "Do you think the baron knew that he would find it there?" The other guard shook his head. "I think he knew his man, and that was enough." Today, standing in the Apollo Gallery, I look at the Sancy and think about that letter I found in the archives. In it, Nicolas de Sancy wrote to his brother, quote, "I have recovered the stone. The king will have his army. France will survive. But I have lost something far more valuable than any diamond. I have lost the man who taught me what loyalty truly means." End quote. The diamond continued its journey through the centuries, passing from kings to millionaires, from France to Russia to America. But none of them ever possessed this stone the way that nameless servant did back in 1590. When you look at the Sancy, do not see only a symbol of luxury or the mastery of jewelers. Look closely at the way light plays across its 132 facets. That strange calmness, that almost smile, still lives there. They say diamonds are eternal. But true eternity is not created by carbon. It is created by people like that Courier. Because the most secure treasury in the world is not the stone walls of the Louvre. It is the human heart, when loyalty proves more valuable than life itself.